Wow. Just wow. I am just ecstatic right now. Liverpool have won a game of football. Going into the season, I never would have thought that would have been enough to please the fan base, but here we are. Liverpool on their worst run of form in 70 years, going into this West Ham away game. 9 defeats in 12 games in all competitions. 6 league losses in 7 league matches. Liverpool have just been all over the place. Arne Slot facing scrutiny as manager. I never would have thought in a million years that he would be coming close to getting sacked, especially after how good he was last season. But with the form that Liverpool are in right now, anything could happen. Tactically against Nottingham Forest, Arne Slot getting it all wrong, coming out to the press and admitting that he tried things that didn't work out. Liverpool suffering off the back of those decisions. For the first time in 60 years, Liverpool have lost 2 successive league games by 3 or more goals. And to make it worse, after that, they get absolutely popped by PSV in the Champions League 4-1. 3 consecutive games, 3 consecutive losses by getting battered. It's just crazy to see where Liverpool were earlier in the season. First in the league, 5 wins from 5 games, I think it was, to now where they are now, in absolute crisis mode, struggling to put performances together and getting battered week after week, defensively frail, conceding 34 league goals by November. Now to the point where before this win, Liverpool were 13th in the league table. 13th. I know the table's very congested towards the middle section, with really only Arsenal separating themselves from the pack, but 13th, regardless of the circumstances, it's embarrassing. Now to verse West Ham at London Stadium, who have the manager in charge that handed Arne Slot his first loss as Liverpool manager. Nuno Espirito, when he was in charge of Nottingham Forest, beat Arne Slot at Anfield last season 1-0, the game that put the whole league on notice for Nottingham Forest's freak season. But even after beating Liverpool that one time, they also drew to them later that same season, taking a total 4 points against the eventual champions. So now Liverpool in crisis mode, coming up against Arne Slot's bogey opposing manager, even though everyone else has been beating him already, but that's besides the point. But it wasn't sunshine and rainbows for West Ham either going into this game, blowing a 2-0 lead against Bournemouth last time out, and drawing 2-2 after their previous back-to-back wins prior. But before their uplift in form before this game, West Ham were in the pits with Graham Potter as manager. Really poor start to the season of a club of their stature. But despite that, the appointment of Nuno, being given time to implement his style of play, West Ham could have always snatched a result against this Liverpool side. But as we know, Liverpool did beat them 2-0 on the day. But prior to this game commencing, news came out about the lineups, and more specifically, Liverpool's lineup. Arne Slot made 2 changes from the side that lost to Forest, and 4 changes from the side that lost to PSV in the Champions League. Alisson back into the team after missing the PSV game. Joe Gomez at right back, the first league start for him in 2025. Liverpool with an actual defender at right back, not Curtis Jones or Dominic Szoboszlai filling in for the lack of a real right back. But the real controversial big talking point, no Mohamed Salah in the starting 11. Left out by Arne Slot, whether that's because of his performance levels dipping or just due to the amount of games coming up for every Premier League team to play. Christmas time, Boxing Day fixtures, really it gets intense from here on. For the first time in 54 games, stretching back to April last year, no Mohamed Salah in a Premier League lineup for Liverpool. Crazy to think about, especially after how outstanding he was last season. Anyway, Florian Wirtz playing in Salah's place, in the lineup on the right wing, at least at first. Hugo Ekitike is fit enough to make the bench, but Alexander Isak starts over him. As for West Ham, they revert back to a back 4, instead of the usual back 5 that they deploy so often, shaping up with 4 midfielders almost like a diamond formation. Jared Bowen and Callum Wilson strike partners. West Ham under Nuno more than happy just to not have possession of the ball, and just sit in their shape absorbing pressure like they did at Forest when he was in charge. Now, on with the first half. Like I said before, Wirtz initially starting on that right flank, but he was actually moving more centrally and even times moving over to the left side. Szoboszlai filling in for Wirtz on the right flank, which did hinder his impact on the ball. But this game did actually develop into one of the best Wirtz performances he's had in a Liverpool shirt so far. Picked up the ball in nice areas of the pitch, conducted himself as the creative fulcrum of the team, free to create chances and linked up pretty well. He didn't get a goal or an assist, but it was an eye-catching performance outside of that. And he did come close though, he had a very good opportunity to score. Virgil van Dijk with a great diagonal long ball over the top to the running in behind Cody Gakpo on the left. Gakpo versus Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the flank. When Bissaka loses out, then Wirtz gets teed up on a silver platter by Gakpo inside the box, but his shot is just tame. Areola saves it, and Wirtz just never generated the power to beat Areola, and he scuffs it. And that chance came in transition, as did most of the chances for Liverpool in that first half. I would say for both teams, but West Ham Ham actually didn't register a shot on target for the whole game. Another great performer in that first half was Milos Kerkez. He played his role to perfection, exploiting that space out wide behind West Ham's very narrow midfield shape. West Ham players unsure who to mark him at times. He kept bombing up and down the flank like he used to do at Bournemouth before his move to Liverpool. And I want to see more of that from him, but in the second half he did slow down a bit, with Andy Robertson eventually subbing in for Kerkez. But overall that first half was a bit of a nothing burger. Chances were few and far between, and when they did fall for Liverpool, Alphonse Areola was there. His biggest moment coming in the 20th minute with a great save that he made. Joe Gomez for Liverpool lifts the ball to the back post. Gakpo touches it down to Isak, who's on the 6-yard line right in front of goal. Isak swivels, swiping the ball out of the air, goal bound. For sure thought it was going in, but Areola's there to meet it. Close range save by the goalkeeper, denying Isak in that first half. Areola continuing that great run of form that he's in. Made the most amount of saves in a single Premier League game last week, with 10 total saves against Bournemouth, but none of them coming close to being as good as that one. He kept West Ham in a game that they never looked to be in the first place. Liverpool were robbed of a shooting distance free kick, but besides that wraps up the first half. Bit slow, bit methodical. Liverpool getting into some good areas of the pitch, but the final ball, the final touch lacking to put themselves ahead. For now, still 0-0 going into halftime. And surprisingly, the second half begins with West Ham coming out with way more intent than they did in the first. Coming out the gates looking 10 times better than they did. Earning 3 quick corners in succession, having their best spell of the game, forcing defensive clearances from Van Dijk and Konate. West Ham with a slight glimmer of hope to get back into it, but that would quickly fade away. Because, as we know, the £125 million striker, bought in the summer for Liverpool, the most expensive Premier League signing, Alexander Isak, finally scores his first Premier League goal for Liverpool. He did score in the EFL Cup months back, but that's not what he was brought in to do. Scoring with his second shot on target in his first 7 hours as Liverpool player. Against one of his favourite opponents to face, he had 5 goals in 5 games back in his Newcastle days against West Ham. The whole play initially begins with a long throw-in from Joe Gomez. The ball gets launched in and eventually comes back to him. He finds Wirtz on the edge of the box. Wirtz finds Gakpo open in the box with no defenders near him. Gakpo lays it to Isak. First time strike as the ball bounces to him. Side foot into the bottom left corner. Tucks the ball away very nicely. Isak opening his goal scoring account for the Reds in the league. And as for his performance as a whole, it wasn't extraordinary. Isak still looks not quite back up to speed, due to him missing large chunks of preseason because of the whole transfer saga. But regardless, he gets the goal and relieves some of the pressure off his shoulders. Relieved pressure off of Arne Slot's shoulders too, now with Liverpool's 1-0 lead in this game. Ekitike comes on for Isak only 7 minutes after his goal. Arne Slot still sharing the minutes between those two and more than likely managing Isak's fitness. Florian Wirtz came off shortly after as well. Slot going for more of a defensive shape to finish off this game, with Curtis Jones coming on. Liverpool were happy to drop their defensive line and sit back with their 1-0 lead, just protecting their valuable 3 points that they would eventually get, and that really frustrated West Ham, trying to break Liverpool down, and when they eventually got some momentum, fouls kept going Liverpool's way, which saw Lucas Paqueta absolutely crash out towards the referee, throwing his hands up in the direction of him multiple times, gets himself booked for a yellow card for dissent against the referee, but Paqueta doesn't let it go and continues to hassle the referee, resulting in him receiving a second yellow and of course meaning a red card. One of the most avoidable bookings you will ever see in a football match. He just kept digging and kept harassing. He was asking for it at that point. And his teammates not doing enough to lead him away. Very stupid from Paqueta, no other way of looking at it. And all I know is that Nuno would have been fuming on the sideline. West Ham already struggling to get into the game as is. And then on top of that, set back to 10 men. Despite that setback, West Ham came very close to scoring through Jared Bowen. A very well struck shot from him that just blazes over the bar. After Nicholas Füllkrug's relentlessness wins the ball back for West Ham and lays it to Jared Bowen, who does sky it. But the second goal of the game would of course go Liverpool's way. In the dying minutes of the game, to seal the deal for Liverpool, guarantee those valuable 3 points, Cody Gakpo, the assister of the first goal, scores the second goal for Liverpool, chests the ball down and delivers a thumping finish into the back of the net, and goal almost came out of nothing, just sending bodies through late in this match. West Ham with not enough defenders to stop it, and that goal saw Liverpool win 2-0 on the day, ending yet another losing run of form, hoping to not go on one quite as long as that previous run of losses. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get the job done. Not a pretty performance by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly not a vintage Liverpool performance, but job done. Liverpool win 2-0. 3 points away from home for Liverpool in a time of need. Liverpool are now 21 points on the board in the table. 3 points away from top 4 as things stand. hand, sitting with 0 goal difference, which is crazy. Currently sitting 8th in the table, with West Ham sitting 17th in that pack of teams fighting for relegation right now. And in this game, they were really unable to create anything of note, and feeding off scraps for themselves against the very fragile Liverpool back line that's conceded 10 goals in the last 3 games. You wouldn't expect a clean sheet the way that Liverpool have been playing, but nevertheless, West Ham 0, Liverpool 2. Let me know down in the comments, guys, who do you think the 3 relegated teams will be in this season of the Premier League? Will West Ham be in there? Personally, I just have the 3 that are currently in the relegation spots: Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves. Let me know your 3 down below. Anyway, that's it from me, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.